Now, you say that your experience in opening your small business in Rockyview County has been less than positive.
Yeah, it's the process is very difficult, right? Starting from the planning process, that was held up for almost 6 months. You submit plans, and then someone at Rockyview doesn't like something, so they tell you what needs to be adjusted, which is fine. You adjust. However, to have it 3 times submitted and each time a minor adjustment has to be made, in my opinion, why not do all changes that need to be made the first time, then send it back to the owner or the architect, get it tweaked, get it passed, and moved on. Process should be to help the person who is trying to run a business within Rockyview rather than hinder. And so that was frustrating, getting the first, just the plans approved, even though you're hiring professionals to do those plans. For some reason, the people in Rockyview seem to know better than architects and engineers. Why, I don't know, but that seemed to be the process.
Now, everyone that has dealt with government knows that, of course, there's going to be delays. Can you tell us how long each one of those delays took and whether or not you felt that they were reasonable in time?
The overall process from the time we actually purchased the building, which at the time wasn't built yet, it's been 3 years till I finally got my final approval from Rockyview. And each stage of the way, as you do a process, the framing, the plumbing, the electrical, each thing is inspected. That particular part of the process was very good because it is actually subbed out to a private contract company. Rockyview doesn't do that particular part. And that company did a great job. They came in and said, yes, your framing is correct. And they looked it over, and if there needed to be anything adjusted, you were told. But at the same time, if it was minor, you were allowed to proceed. You were approved, and then you had to send in a picture of or document the one thing you maybe had to change, which was great. That's a good way to do business. I have no qualms with that. The plumbing and electrical was the same. The inspectors there were good guys. I have no issue with them. They came in, they went, had a real good look at things, and I asked them right from the get-go, if there's anything that's not quite right, tell me, because I want this building up to code. I want it correct. It's my first shop that I've built. I've rented shops. This is the first one I've owned and built myself. And I would not recommend you do that in Rockyview. I'd probably go anywhere else but Rockyview.
Why is that?
Well, because of the frustration level. Once we had passed those different things, we were moving on to our final. And our final is when the nightmare incurred. Basically, I built the store down below where we have our display of equipment and stock in the back. And upstairs I built an exercise studio for my daughter, and also a couple of offices and a kitchen for us down here. And basically my plans had said I put in a meeting area because I teach. I also teach guys to climb trees. I teach arboriculture. I teach safety and aerial rescue. So that was the plan, to also use that space for teaching. I didn't specifically say what I taught. I just said we had a meeting area for teaching. When the inspector came in and looked at everything, there were a few minor changes downstairs, like I needed a coat hook at a lower level for wheelchair access. Well, that's fine. I needed to change my rail for my toilet again for wheelchair. I had one, but it wasn't exactly to code. There's like a whole 10 pages of code just for wheelchair access, which is fine, except I would never have a client in a wheelchair because we sell to people who climb towers and trees and high-rise windows. But nevertheless, that kind of thing, move a fire extinguisher here and there, that's fine. Would do those little changes. be approved as a result. However, that wasn't the case. The argument that Daryl had said, who was the inspector, that first of all I wasn't coded correctly. I had told him this was a wholesale business basically, and he argued, said no, you're retail.